Are Orange County prices getting ready to plunge? Well, we're going to look at that today, and I'm going to answer that question for you. This is Dean Odell with Seven Gables Real Estate and the Odell Group. Today is September 11th, and we've got some special charts for you today. Let's get started. This is showing you guys what rates and payments have done since COVID and over time. I mean, go back to January at the very left of the chart, 2019? Yeah, that's pre-COVID, right? So let's go January 2019. We look at where rates were. We see where they went. They bottomed out in November of 20 at 2.68, and they went all the way up in about June of 24, all the way up to 7.62%. That is a huge difference, right? That's almost 3 times what the rate was. And now they've settled down a little bit this year, and currently they're at 6.72%. That's all on the orange line. Now, what does that mean for a payment standpoint when you look at where average homes are priced or selling in Orange County? If you look at the blue line is what's happened to people's payments since 2019. It's pretty sad, right? I mean, we had an average payment of $2,917, and now we're up to $6,061. So you look at this chart and you say, my gosh, what does that mean for home buyers? And just to show you the impact of why we need rates to lower a little bit, let's look at the next chart, which shows the payment here on the average Orange County home, which is now at $1,172,000. And with a 20% down payment, you can see what the payments are. Back when we had 3% rates, it would have only been like a $4,000 payment. You go all the way to the right of the chart at 8%, you're almost at $6,900. Where are we now? We're at that 6.5% rate, $5,924. So we're just below. But still, you say, how can the average person even afford a home in Orange County? Well, the reality is the average person probably can't. So does that mean that we're going to have plunging prices? We have to look at the next chart, which is the active listing inventory, to understand what's going on here. But before I do that, I want to read an excerpt from the housing report by Steve Thomas this week, and I'm going to do that right now. So here's what's going on. It says, many expect home values to plunge to improve affordability, similar to the Great Recession. Yet, the Great Recession was fueled by loose lending requirements, pick-a-payment plans, teaser rate, adjustable mortgages, subprime loans, zero-down loans, fraudulent lending practices, elevated bankruptcies, and surging delinquencies, short sales, and foreclosures. I remember that. Okay. Now, where are we today? Today, the U.S. housing stock is the healthiest ever. 40% own their homes free and clear, record equity rich, 50% or plus in equity, low fixed rates, large down payments, strong credit, tight lending requirements, and great jobs. The national delinquency rate is 3.35%, which is lower than pre-COVID when it was 4.27%. And prices could drop in the low single digits due to increased inventories that are approaching pre-pandemic levels, but there is no path to plunging prices. Okay, well, probably not the news you wanted to hear, but let's look at the listing inventory right now, starting with what we have today on the market, which is 4,869 homes. That's down from 2 weeks ago when it was 5,011. Last year, 3,599. We're traveling on that red line right now, and you can see we're starting to come down a little bit on inventory, which is normal for this time of year. And you can see where our 3-year average was. It was much higher at 6,569. So we still have not got back to pre-pandemic levels in Orange County. Looking at demand, what we see is today we have 1,559 homes that have gone into escrow over the last 30 days. 2 weeks ago, it was 1,652. And look where we are from last year. Believe it or not, we're up. We're up almost 100 homes. Last year was 1,470. And again, we're still way below our 3-year average of 2,438. The issue is when you look at the listing inventory to the demand, we have lower listing inventory by historical standards, but we also have lower demand. So when you match those up, yeah, the market's slowing a little bit, which we're going to see in this next chart, which is expected marketing time. but it's not slowing enough that it's going to create a plunge in prices. Okay, so let's look where we are today for Orange County. We're at 94 days. 2 weeks ago, we were at 91, last year 73, and the 3-year average is 82. We are traveling across that red line, and you can see that this time of year, it's kind of normal that our expected marketing time would go up, because we're getting into that, last quarter of the year. We still got a month to get there, but this is the time where the market normally would start to slow. Now, how does that break down by price range? You may want to freeze this, after I explain it, to really look at all these different categories. But in a nutshell, different price ranges are doing different things. You have a slight seller's market up to 1.5 million. And then you have a balanced market between 1.5 and 2.5. And to demonstrate why that's balanced, just look at the current inventory versus the current demand. Okay, if you just take those two and you add them together, 15 plus 7, that's 22% of the current inventory. Where's the demand? The demand's 14 plus 6, that's 20. So you got 22% of the inventory and 20% of the demand. That's pretty balanced, right? Whereas when you go to a deep buyer's market, you can see it's much different. You got 25% of the inventory over 2.5, and you only have 9% of the demand. So you have almost 3 homes for every single buyer that they can choose from in that price range. But you have to go beyond that. You have to have your agent break this down for you and explain in your local marketplace where you're shopping, how does this look? Because all these sub-markets in Orange County are different. And we'll talk more about that. Looking at the sub-market of Tustin, we're going to look at that data right now and the 3 zip codes we have. When we look at the data this year versus last year, what we can see is our for sales are way up, right? There's more homes that are sitting on the market. Oddly enough, in 2 of the zip codes, you can see that the actual new listings is down. So what does this mean? This means that inventory is sitting around and it's not selling as quickly, right? Now, if you look at the solds, you can see that it's up in some zip codes and down in others. So this is where I tell you that there's all these sub-markets that you really need to look at. For instance, when you look at the pendings, you can see in North Tustin, the 92705 zip code, they're actually up. In the other 2 zip codes, Tustin Ranch, Tustin Legacy, they're down. How does that translate to supply and demand and months of inventory? Well, months of inventory is another way of saying expected marketing time. It's just based on the past instead of the present, instead of on pending. So if you look at the months of inventory, you look and you say, okay, well, right now we have 3.5 months of inventory versus 2.5 in North Tustin, which means we actually have more inventory, right? Now you look at Tustin's up. You look at Tustin Ranch and the Legacy, and they're also up. But overall, what does it mean to have 2 to 3 months of inventory? It's not really in the buyer's favor. It's actually leaning a little towards the seller. To get to a balanced market, you have to have about 4 to 5 months of inventory. So Tustin is still a very strong zip code for what's going on here. Now, if we look at the other categories there, the average active price, the average sold price, I think more importantly, what we're seeing is the original list price to sales price. You can see that give and take that's going on within the different zip codes. Okay, so take a look at that. Average days on the market, still pretty close to 30 days in all these different areas. So again, 30 days to get a home sold is not unreasonable. That's still a very decent market for the seller. Okay, now I'm going to go to my advice for buyers and sellers and give you guys, a little taste of what's going on with boots on the ground and what we're seeing on our team. So there's a lot of hype on the internet right now about how the market's just about to go off a cliff, okay? Well, maybe that's true in some areas, South Florida, certain parts of the United States, but we again have to look at our market here. And yes, we have increased inventory, but we still have demand that's kind of balanced with the inventory that we have. And we're not seeing a deep buyer's market unless it's in the higher price ranges, okay? I'm going to give you an example too of, a listing that we just launched last week. We got the house looking good, right? We had to go in there, we had to paint, we had to carpet, we had to stage. We did all these things that a lot of sellers really aren't excited about doing, but the proof is in the pudding, right? The proof is in the end result. I also told that seller, look, I think we can price the property as high as $1,950,000, but we're heading into the fourth quarter. There's a lot of hoopla out on the street about prices crashing and this and that. The buyers are being more hesitant. You really need to price a property where the buyers know that it's priced right. And if it's underpriced for any reason, we still are in a market where there's enough buyers that they will come out and bid it to where it's supposed to sell. Well, here we are after the weekend, after open houses, after all the marketing that we did online, big push, got all the people through there, and we're going to be presenting 4 offers to our client. And none of those offers are below our list price of $1,895,000. Even though I told them that they could go as high as $1,950,000, guess what's going to happen? It's going to get pushed up closer to that $1,950,000. If I would have launched it at $1,950,000, people would have probably sat and watched it. So there's different strategies out there, and not all the strategies fit for all the houses, but in this particular case, I knew there was enough demand in this price range in the North Tustin area. It was the type of house that people were going to want. Nice big single story with a pool, flat yard. It was what a lot of people were looking for. And sure enough, in a market where people say things are slowing, 4 buyers came out to make offers, right? So the buyers are out there, sellers, but you have to get the right advice. You have to get the house looking good. You have to market it properly. I know that we're really, really good at that. Now, buyers, if you're looking for advice for buying, here's the thing. A lot of people, teams included, don't work with buyers. And actually, this is advice for sellers too, because when you're hiring somebody to work for you, you want somebody who understands what people are paying for houses out there. You want people that actually are in and out of these houses all the time showing them, okay? So we have 6 team members that are out there looking at properties, showing properties every day. We're sharing information. We're finding out who's got something coming up that might sell it off market, all these different things. But the reality is you have to have the right advice, and it's hard to get the right advice from somebody when they don't work the buyer side of the transaction. There's a lot of agents out there that will say, oh, I'm primarily a listing agent. Well, what good does that do? I mean, if the guy's not out there showing property themselves or understand what buyers are paying for properties or looking at these properties, I spend my weekends going out and looking at properties, okay? I could be sitting home by my pool, right? But I'm out there going through open houses, looking at this to make sure that we competitively price against them for our sellers. So understanding the market variables, being able to tell a buyer when something is a good buy, when it's not a good buy, you want an agent that you can have confidence in, okay? So our team's out there for you. We would love to work for you. We had 3 buyers make appointments with our team this week to hire us to go represent them, okay? So we're doing that for sellers. We're also doing that for buyers. So please reach out to us. Let us help you, okay? You'll see our number here on the screen. Go ahead and give us a call and let's get an appointment set up, or shoot us an email. So thanks for tuning in. We will see you on the next Tustin Talks, and we will have more data and more information for you. And let's try to stay ahead of where this market's going. You're always going to get the best information here. We're looking at the data. We're pounding the pavement. We're out there, right? So we will let you know what's happening in Orange County real estate. See you soon.